Okay, so so I wanted to make like a little life update video. I just haven't made a video in a really long time, and just randomly was inspired to do it. But I've been living in Brazil for the last 4 months, so 4 full months now, and I just kind of stopped making YouTube videos. I stopped sharing a lot of the stuff I was doing, which is the opposite of what I was planning on doing. And I wanted to share a little bit of my experience living here and just kind of the paradigm shift that I've had from living outside the states for as long as I have now. So, super short background. Obviously, I grew up in U.S. and Midwest from Kansas, small area outside of Wichita, and I've always lived there. I grew up there. I went to school there my entire life. Kind of lived in that little bubble, and that was what I was used to. It was very safe and comfortable. When I was 19, I moved out to California for my business, um, and got into the film world and did that. And so that was a huge leap already. That was pretty crazy. I ended up coming back to Kansas during COVID and spent my time there, and I kind of just like had to reset, right? Well, since that time, I have done a little bit of traveling. Like I was like, okay, I spent a couple months in Mexico, came back, spent, I spent like basically like a month in Nicaragua. It was just split up, and then I spent um, probably we spent around 4 months total, two different trips in Colombia. And so we kind of like exploring this living outside of the states thing, but it was more like trips, right? Well, my business became fully remote this year. Like I basically was finishing stuff from my last business and got fully remote now. And so we took the full leap. Like my fiance quit her full-time job, and now we're outside of the states. So we moved to Brazil for as long as we were able to on this visa, and now that we're here, it's been interesting because I moved out here and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like share my journey and this and that, but um, I just have found that for one, I just don't really care to share it, or at least haven't felt the need to share it because once I got here, it was kind of a paradigm shift. Like you know, living outside of, visiting a place is one thing, but like moving somewhere, getting yourself like kind of immersed in the culture, learning the language, learning how the place works, learning the differences in the way that people act, the things that are normal, the things that are good and bad. It, traveling really changes the way you think about things because you realize how much of the things that you believe and the things that you think every day and the things that you think are just dictated based on where you live, or where you're born, and the people around you, maybe their religious views or their political views, and all these things. And so traveling has opened me up to realize, oh, a lot of the things that I believe are not my own beliefs. They're not my thoughts. They're other people's. And I could get into the nuances of what those things are, but it's not really important. I think it's more about the principle of the differences of culture and understanding that we are being shaped by our surroundings, right? So that's been a huge change. And, part of that has been like, an example, like I was like, oh, I want to build like a personal brand or something. Like it's something that I want to do because I thought, it'll help my business and, probably feed my ego or something like that. But since getting here, it was the opposite. It was the destruction of the ego and the character that I'd created in the past, which was intentional. I kind of assumed this would happen, but it has left me like a little lost. You go to a whole new place, you achieve the thing that you wanted to do, you wanted to get, and then it's like, okay, what next? And that's been kind of the in between that I've been in. And so that's that. And then living in Brazil, right? So my experience has been obviously great. I'm still here. Extended our visa, and we can only stay for 6 months at least until we figure something else out. I honestly just don't see myself living in the States anymore. Like for the foreseeable future, I do not see myself moving back to the United States. I just don't. It's way more expensive. It's way lower bang for buck. I mean, yeah, you can live for the same price in Wichita, Kansas, as here, of course, but you can live for half the cost here, and I live right by the beach. Like I'm in like a really nice apartment complex, literally right by the beach. We can walk to it a few minutes. Everything is cheaper. The people are so much nicer. I mean, like I speak like the smallest bit of Portuguese, and people are so open and nice about it. And like, I mean, just the culture is so different. Everyone in Latin America in general, like I mean, anything South America, Latin America, anything is like, but people are way more relaxed. People really take their weekends seriously. They really enjoy themselves. People really like to party here. Um, and so it's just been amazing, like getting outside of the stuff that I was used to growing up. Um, and there's people from all over the world here too. People who travel here as well. And it's crazy. Like I have more friends here now than I did in the place that I grew up in, which is interesting. And so this is just kind of a life update, a little bit of a rant, but I guess I just wanted to share like a different perspective in that there's more out there than you think. I highly recommend that you try it. Just being outside of what you're used to open up your mind. It kind of helps you to think in new ways that you've never thought before, right? There's a reason why they call it a trip, right? Because it does that, just like other things do that, if you know what I mean. And yeah, I don't know. It's just been a really cool experience. I don't see myself living in the States anymore because of many things. I mean, but to be honest, the politics in the States is also pretty crazy. Yeah, honestly, I don't see myself living in the States for the foreseeable future. And I really think if you want to live in the States, you should be making a significant amount more money, because another big paradigm shift that I've experienced from living in Brazil is that a lot of the time we spend is on making enough money to afford to stay alive and to make, like, you're like trying to make a living rather than like being able to live, if that makes sense. And I realize here a lot of people just don't really care. Like it's really different, and that's in like that a lot of Latin American countries. People aren't so focused on business and making money, but that's because you don't really need a lot of money. Like if you can afford what you're living in, you're living below your means. You don't need a lot of money. And so I think the paradigm shift is that a lot of people are just trying to make enough to survive, especially in the States, because everything is so ridiculously expensive and the wages aren't matching that, obviously. Different conversation. I never worked a job, so that's like not something I personally dealt with, but like running your own business is a whole other can of worms. Um, I just honestly don't see why you would live in any way that is above your means. And so moving somewhere like this, or maybe like an Asian country like Vietnam, Thailand, stuff like that, which is probably where we're going to go next. So that way you can live below your means is an absolute cheat code, because you don't even have to lower your cost of living. You can actually raise your quality of life for the same cost or less, which is huge. I mean, I know, and I have friends back at home that are stuck in this rat race of trying to make enough money so they can upgrade their lifestyle, basically, which is like an absolute hole that you're going to dig yourself into. What was the point of this video? I don't know, I guess. I just sharing why I'm not going to live in the States, the paradigm shifts that I've had from being here, and figuring out, where I'm going next and what I'm doing next has been the challenge. But it's very interesting. It's very interesting. I would highly recommend Brazil. Highly recommend just leaving your hometown if you haven't already. That's it. That's it.